Hello, gorgeous folks. This is Darice, and I just wanted to come in and talk a little bit about this upcoming Mercury square Saturn. It will be happening tomorrow, Tuesday, November 12th, 2024. Basically, Mercury is about communication, what we focus on, what we think about, and Saturn is planet of structure, foundations, and is forming a square, which is a tense form of energy between planets. What this Mercury square, excuse me, what this Mercury Saturn square means is that since Mercury governs communication, our thoughts, planning, Saturn brings boundaries, sometimes restrictions. The tension of this square can feel like frustration, resistance. We also entered Mercury's shadow retrograde period November 7th. It will go retrograde November 25th, just in time for the week of Thanksgiving in the US. So I'll talk about that more later in the week. But Saturn is beginning to, excuse me, Mercury is beginning to slow down. And also, Saturn is actually slowing down because it will be stationing direct later this week. And I'll have another video about that as well. So what that means is that Tuesday is a particularly crunchy day for communications in a nutshell. So if you do have meetings, if you do have to have conversations, take a beat, take a pause, count to three in your head before you say something. Make sure you're being really clear about the message you want to communicate and be very mindful of how you communicate your messages. You know, this is a week to be more mindful of tone than usual, per se. The other issues with this Mercury square Saturn, it can bring up self-doubt, um, communication blocks, misunderstandings, whatever you've planned. There may be a last minute obstacle. So I'm encouraging people to just be flexible, practice that resilience tool. One of the positive things, though, is that it could also help us break through some mental blocks and frustrations. And one way to do that is to acknowledge whatever you're feeling in the moment, even if it's just to yourself. You may not need to actually have to speak it out loud. You know, that may not be appropriate depending on what the situation is at the moment. It's a great day and week to clarify priorities. Really focus on one or two main tasks. I would encourage this week to be a week where you especially set aside just one main priority for each day. Or if you have multiple responsibilities, and this is actually a one thing principle that I really like as well. What is the one thing that's going to have the maximum impact? So, if you're a parent, what is the one thing that's going to have the biggest impact on the relationship with you and your child that day? You know, maybe it's how you greet each other in the morning or at night, or if they have a particular homework assignment that you need to help them with. What is the biggest priority or the thing that's going to have the most impact in terms of getting it done most effectively and efficiently? What do you have to say yes to in order to make that happen? What do you have to say no to in order to make that happen? Um, and then, of course, in your particular work, what is the one thing that's going to have the most impact that day? For me today, it's recording this video for my membership because this will help me get my message out and support people since I know people are really distracted right now with everything that's happening in the world. So I'm encouraging folks to use this Mercury square Saturn energy to help them come back to center, focus, get back to focusing on your life and what you want to accomplish in your life and your business. And of course, that also still means to take care of yourself. So take breaks. And this can also be a good time to challenge some limiting beliefs. One of the things I'm encouraging myself to focus on is no matter what's happening in the world, what if it's possible for me to thrive anyway? That's my challenging of my limiting belief. In the past, I would have looked at our current political situation and immediately surrendered to doom and gloom and said, oh my God, it's going to be so much harder. What if that's just a limiting belief? What if that's not actually true? I'll talk more about that later in the week as well, because I want to keep this video short. Uh, the other thing is, again, stay centered. And part of that is maintaining our ability to be mindful. Meditation practices help with that. Breathing exercises help with that. I will be a broken record about that, like for probably as long as I do this YouTube. I'm always going to remind people to be mindful, to meditate, and to practice breathing. This is also another great week to have realistic expectations. So, in each area of your life where you have to accomplish things, set small, achievable goals, small tasks. One day this week, I'm setting aside time to plan out my content for the next couple of weeks. And I'm going to break that down into smaller tasks and what those tasks look like for me. And then this is also another great time to then take a step back, look at the bigger picture. Where is a growth moment for you? Saturn always challenges us to build a stronger foundation. So maybe look back at the last 2 or 3 months and see where have you actually strengthened your foundation, and congratulate yourself on doing that. At the end of the day, I want us to be focused on strengthening our resilience and our clarity. I think Saturn in particular helps us to do that. That as we face our challenges, these challenges also create opportunities. And we can always choose resilience, and we can always choose to grow emotionally and mentally and spiritually. And that's basically it. Like I said, I just want to keep this short and sweet. Again, because we have Mercury in its shadow period. Mercury is also in Sagittarius, which can sometimes be boastful, misleading information. So if you hear things, definitely double, triple check the facts. We also still have Jupiter traveling through Gemini, which again can also lead to misinformation, jumping to conclusions. Just pause. I'm going to encourage people throughout all of November and December in particular just to pause, especially when you feel emotionally activated, that things may not always be what they seem to be. So just be willing to take a pause. Ask yourself, is this true? And the other reason why I encourage people to continue to do their meditations and their mindfulness practices, those deep breathing exercises, it enhances our ability to hear, feel, sense, and know our intuition and what our intuition is telling us about what's happening in our world and in our lives. So continue to strengthen that intuition muscle. And at the end of the day, I also like to believe that things are always ultimately working out for our highest possible good. Or as like one of my favorite astrologers, Dabney Lawless, likes to say, there's a reason and a season for it all. And so I know there's a lot of heavy energy out there. And this Mercury Saturn square might intensify that on Tuesday, maybe potentially today, Monday, and Wednesday. Uh, Again, it's just a opportunity to remind ourselves to be clear about what we're saying and how we're saying it. And also, this is an opportunity to strengthen our ability to be resilient. And again, I am wishing you love, peace, and joy, blessings. I believe in you. I believe in us. I believe we are capable of doing good things in the world and for one another. And we will continue to live our life purpose from an open heart and a space of love, joy, and faith. Uh, Easefully yours, Darice.